Welcome to the Weekly Juice Podcast, where we discuss all things real estate, personal finance, investing, entrepreneurship, and the many ways to achieve financial independence. We interview accomplished investors and entrepreneurs with the goal that their stories inspire you to take control of your financial future. Here to get your creative juices flowing, while also documenting their own personal investing journeys, are your hosts, Corey Jacobson and Ryan Bevilacqua.
Welcome back to the Weekly Juice. As always, it's your boys, Ryan and Corey, here with another episode. Selfishly, today, I think was one of my all-time favorite episodes. We had two amazing real estate investors on the show, Kamohai and Tristyn Kalama. They're based out of Hawaii. We were screaming into the mic. So. I probably talk way too fast, way too much energy, but it'll fuel you all the way through. These two are a couple real estate investors, as I mentioned, real estate investors out of Hawaii. And they are fix and flippers. That's their number one thing. They do about 30 flips a year. They have a portfolio of about 30 units based in Hawaii and then also Jacksonville, Florida. So we have been connected with them on social media for the last, I would say, like 2 or 3 years. They've been in the real estate game for just about 6 years. And beforehand, they kind of talked about their previous...
Both entrepreneurs.
Two entrepreneurs, yeah. I'll let you kind of take it away from here. But for us, I would think the energy on this episode outmatches pretty much any other episode.
Yeah, it was a mindset shifting type of episode. We kind of we problem solved in our own businesses throughout the episode too, which I think is really valuable for people listening, because we're there's definitely people that are going through similar situations that we are that might want to hear, we worked it out almost like a workshop in the episode. But also I thought it was really interesting how they have this portfolio or this flipping business. They're doing they're one of the biggest flippers in Hawaii, and they're doing it there, but then they put their passive income from the active income that they make there into Jacksonville, Florida, where they've created a relationship of operational people on the ground that could not be further away from Hawaii. So they've used the power of social media to build a funnel to get people to invest with them with private money and hard money, and they create this relationship. I think they have, and I'm saying this for a reason, they have under 10,000 followers, I think close to 10,000, but the people that follow them are very, very tight-knit, and they love them, and they've been able to raise all this capital. I'm talking about millions and millions of dollars based on having this tight-knit community and following. And that is what I want people to take away from the episode too, is Ryan and I, we've always tried to grow our podcast. We've always tried to grow our Instagram, and so we want to touch more people, but we want to make the most amount of impact on the few amount of people, right? So if we have 100,000 followers, which we probably will at some point, we want to make sure that our impact on them is enough, and we're not just grazing over 100,000 people. And they're able to have a business that is bigger than our business with 1/3 the amount of people that are listening to them. So I wanted to point that out there, is that community was a really big theme in this episode.
Yeah, we talked about the organically building your following and your community, right? And just how many people they're able to impact on a daily basis. They talk about how they get on specific calls with people, they raise capital, they educate them, and then they have this whole system. They teach people how to grow their wealth through real estate, and they allow them to invest with them.
Yeah,
it's an amazing strategy. We talked about so many different strategic business systems you can put into place, and I just think we vibed very well with these guys. We could easily hang out with them and talk for hours outside the podcast. We almost did. We dragged this one kind of long.
And you could feel it through the episode. You could feel the vibe, which I think makes people hopefully want to listen to it longer. At one point, Ryan almost drove his head through the brick wall behind us. So it was exciting. I was excited. We were feeling the vibes.
Yeah, we pretty much have a trip booked to Hawaii for next spring.
Yes, wait to the end of the episode. Or actually, that's probably not even in the episode, but we're going to Hawaii. So
you heard it here first. But I will say, for everyone, we almost have a couple Hawaiian themed episodes, and I mean this by real estate investors out in Hawaii. These people are just so kind and giving and willing to share, and just, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the culture out there, but it's for me, I just feel like I'm so energized and could be awake for 4 days now, just going to study real estate after talking to these people.
Hopefully y'all stay awake for 4 days too after listening to this episode. Want to bring them in?
Let's do it. Kamohai and Tristyn, officially welcome to the Weekly Juice Podcast. We are thrilled to have you on the show, and I would say after a couple of years of following each other on social media, it is long overdue to finally get acquainted, so thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
You guys were, super excited. We've been following you guys for a long time. This is an honor for us. And we hope you can add some value.
Yeah.
Thanks. Well, we're excited. We know you definitely can. We see you've done some very big things out there in Hawaii, in the real estate investing world, and we're excited to share your story. So I think let's start probably from the top. Maybe take us through what you guys did before real estate investing and then how you got introduced to it. Maybe you've done it full time the entire time, but we'd love to hear your story and walk us through kind of how you built your portfolio.
Dude, I love that question. Everyone's always like, how did you get into real estate? Never, what did you do before real estate? So you want to go first?
Yeah. So, man, my brother and I were always into the action sports world. We had a group of friends. I skateboarded. I was a sponsored skateboarder growing up, and we rollerbladed. We surfed, obviously, because we're in Hawaii. But we had a core group of guys, and we used to print silkscreen T-shirts and sell them. So we're into branding from a very young age. And so about 15 years ago, my brother and I started a company. It was called Aloha Sunday. It transitioned into Aloha Beach Club, and we had 3 retail stores. So I've always been entrepreneurial. She'll share her side, very entrepreneurial, which is interesting because my dad was a hardcore W-2 guy, and that's all I remember growing up. So it's all that I really had an example for. But for some reason, there was something in me that didn't want to do what he did. You know what I mean? So we started the 3 stores. One was in San Diego. My brother lived in San Diego, and we opened a store in Kailua, our hometown here, and then Ala Moana Shopping Center. So we ran those stores for 15 years. Yeah. The thing about brick and mortar is it's very, very, very difficult. And over those years, it started getting phased out because everything was going online. And so we always made a living, but we didn't make a ton of money.
It wasn't profitable.
It wasn't profitable. It was like passion. Yeah. You know what I mean? You love doing something. You're doing it because you love it. You can scrape by, kind of a thing. And so I met my beautiful wife, and we had our first child, and she looked at me and she's like, "Hey,
you gotta stop playing around. We gotta make money.
It's time to get baby. Time to get a real job." And so I actually closed the shops down and went back to college. I got my degree in economics and political science, and I was going to take my LSAT. I was gonna try and become a lawyer. And my wife heard a commercial on TV, and it was for flipping houses in Hawaii with none of your own money. And I was very, very skeptical, but she pulled me and dragged me into this seminar, and something unlocked in my brain and everything changed. So that's kind of where we got there. And then she can share her side.
Sure. Yeah. So my background is entrepreneurial as well. Before real estate, I was not in action sports. I was a gymnast, but I quickly got injured and stopped. But I went straight into school, straight from high school, straight into college, straight into my grad school. So I ended up getting my master's degree in behavioral health counseling psychology. So I got licensed as a mental health counselor and certified substance abuse counselor, and I went into the nonprofit sector. I met my best friend and business partner in grad school, and we ended up having the opportunity to take over a nonprofit, a 501c3. So that's my path. I worked for my mom straight out of college in her substance abuse treatment center. Then I helped my dad in his counseling nonprofit, and then I ended up taking over a nonprofit and went into business for myself. And I did that for a long time. And nonprofit is a passion, just like his was a passion. It's nonprofit. And to live in Hawaii, our cost of living is super expensive. And I know that I wanted more. We needed more. I wanted a certain lifestyle for our children. And I think real estate was always in our family because I saw my grandparents have a certain number of real estate from her father and what that did for their family, which is my family. And I saw my dad, get his license and get our house and then get a commercial property. And they always took it to a certain level, but then they stopped. And I was like, all these people that are successful that I know of are all connected somehow to real estate. So I got to figure out what that is and how we can do it. And then I saw that commercial on TV, and the rest was history.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because I mentioned my dad real quick, and this is just a little subconscious thing that I think was embedded in my brain. My dad, dirt poor. There was 11 of them in Kailua. They grew up in a 900 square foot house. And so my dad wanted to give us everything that he didn't have. And the only thing that he knew how to do was to go get educated, because that's what society tells you to do, right? And he worked his way up from a bank teller to the executive senior vice president of First Hawaiian Bank. So along that way, he used to take us out to all of these galas and black tie dinners. And I was this young kid. I'm sitting around these tables with all these super successful guys, business guys in Hawaii. And I would just ask questions. I've always been a very inquisitive person. I love people. I love talking to people. I want to know what you're doing and how you got there. So I was asking them all these questions, and the one common denominator was that every single one of them was directly or indirectly in real estate.
Yep.
And so I think all of these things subconsciously in my brain, once we went to that seminar and I saw a local person that looked like me with my color skin up on stage saying that he's flipping houses here, I was like, dude, I can do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, what I think is super awesome about your story, and I think Ryan and I are on the other side of this, is that you bought in together to this and you both wanted it. So sometimes in relationships that may, like, that having two people that are like entrepreneurs and go-getters, like, that may not work out. So it's awesome that it worked out for you. Our situations, Rye's married, I have a girlfriend. They're like, unbelievably supportive, but doesn't want anything to do with real estate. Like, definitely both of them are like, do your thing. Like, let us know how it goes. I will support you in any possible way I can. And they both do that. But I find it commendable that you're working together. You both saw the light at the same time or around the same time, and you're able to move through that together. I think it's cool.
Well, yeah, the synergy it probably is hard to separate work from normal conversations now because you're so motivated with real estate and you know it's the lane, right? But I think that's how Corey and I found each other for this too, right? We're like, it is so much more exciting to go in this game with someone else and have someone to, like, a sounding board to bounce ideas off of and share the highs, share the lows, and try to keep each other balanced out. Because if you're both low, it's not a great day. No. But
yeah, totally.
I think your backgrounds are badass. I love that you were in action sports. You did some brick and mortar stores, and then you were in the nonprofit sector, and then somehow your paths crossed. But then you decided real estate was the main goal. I think we left off in the story where you were going to become a lawyer. Then you went to this seminar, right, that your wife dragged you to.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the next stage from there? Like, people get wrapped up in, they get excited, right? They're like, okay, I went to a seminar, I went on a podcast, or I listened to a podcast, I read a book. Now what? Like, they have all the information, but how did you guys take the info that you learned and put it into real life and start playing Monopoly?
Well, before that, thank you, because I think it's a blessing to be able to work with your spouse and have that synergy and have fun together and have the same passion. But that shit ain't easy, man. Like, the first couple of years were really rough, especially because you have two alphas, you have two entrepreneurs that did things their way and ran their own businesses. So coming together was really, really hard. But it wasn't until we read the book Rocket Fuel and learned about the integrator and the visionary and who was who and how our roles would work together in this business together is where the magic truly started happening. So thank you for that, but it's hard work.
So, well, I guess we'll pause there too. So yes, I can imagine it's very hard work. Let's go to the book Rocket Fuel, because we talk about it. Sometimes it's hard when you realize you're both visionaries or you're both integrators. Did one of you have to take off the hat and put on the integrator hat versus, there you go. I knew sometimes it's sort of, nothing gets done. You get excited, you talk about things, but you don't do anything. So yeah, maybe you could talk to
no implementation.
On that scale, I fall smack dab in the middle, and maybe more towards the visionary, but I have integrator qualities. I can do those things. He has zero None. So I'm like, all right, well, you obviously have to just be visionary and I will take on that role. But I think it was more of a challenge for me to take off the visionary hat. It was hard, but I'm totally cool with being in that hat now. I actually thrive in it.
Yeah, well, she's super, super good at it. It was like out of necessity, right? Like she said, I just didn't have any of those integrator quality, nor did I find any joy in any of that stuff. Although she didn't have like an immense passion and joy for it, she was actually really good at it, right? And then as we've grown, we've hired the things out that she doesn't like to do.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So we filled those spots so she can live more in her passion.
I just hired little integrators all around me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's VAs, there's people that have probably followed your story and they just like, hey, I want to be involved somehow, teach me. And then eventually they'll come to your level. There's so many ways about it. I think he and I go through that too. And we're still like navigating through who does what, because as young entrepreneurs, you guys know this too. It's like, sometimes you have to wear the hat you don't want to wear, even if you're not an integrator. Like, for example, like, you know, you're full visionary, but some days it sucks. You got to do it. You got to implement.
Yep. He's saying this directly to me. He is, because I am a visionary and he's a visionary as well, but more of an integrator, and I do less integrating. And I think he's secretly trying to tell me.
I'm saying I don't want to do all the integrating.
Yeah. I'm tapping you in. I'm tapping out.
Yeah.
But I think
there's so much research behind it. And it's like, you're like, oh, I come up with this idea and like, here's the steps we got to do to it. And he's like, well, there's a couple other ones out there. I'm like, no, dude, I just spent 14 hours on YouTube figuring out, we got to rock with this one. He always just says, all right, let's do what you want to do. But I think there are things where sometimes you need multiple brains going at the integrator side, because there could be one project that could be continued to go like 3 steps. How do I explain this? But like 3 projects are ongoing, right? And you can't just have the integrator pause one, go to the next one, pause. So we've been getting better at that and like kind of section each other off. But it's tough when you have a couple businesses, real estate, the marketing side. There's
100%.
As you guys know, this thing is a friggin' beast, and it's so hard to manage everything on the back.
Oh, yeah.
Big time. And I think that's so important to note too, because I think a lot of people get caught up in the beginning, they're trying to get too far ahead of themselves, right? Like, I'm a visionary. I just do visionary stuff. But dude, in the middle, I mean, in the beginning, we got to do everything.
You got to wear all the hats.
You have to wear all the hats a lot of the time, because we're starting out with no money.
You're bootstrapping.
Right. It's a bootstrap thing. So yeah, I think in the beginning, a lot of it was just do whatever it freaking takes to get it done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean,
that's just a PSA for everyone listening. That was not all of us going at each other. That I'm saying, people listening, truly, like, you just have to be prepared to do the gritty work, because that's what it really is. It's like, I'm a visionary. It's like, okay, well, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to do every single facet and study. And not only study, when you're done doing that, you can't just set aside and say, I know that. You have to implement it and try it. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Pivot, move on. But sorry, I didn't mean like this.
Or go and find yourself an integrator, but you still got to be willing and able to do the task at hand if it's needed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know Rye asked the question about the next step for you. I'm curious. Let's do it backwards. Let's just tell us what your portfolio looks like now. And then we'll go back to the beginning so that you can frame it for people of how you got to where you are.
Okay.
Yep. Do you want to do it?
So we have approximately 30 doors in Florida and Hawaii. And we fix and flip primarily here in Hawaii. We do about 25 to 30 flips a year. And all of that is to build our passive portfolio. And we are creative finance investors. So if we can acquire one of our rentals through creative finance over cash or the BRRRR strategy, that's exactly what we're going to do. And we hold our monthly meetup, Dills and Aloha. We do our podcast. We're also doing some other stuff that we can't talk about right now, but we're super busy. We're super blessed. We have our 2 babies. Our business revolves around our life, not our life around our business. We're really big on that. And it all started from learning how to fix and flip from fortune builders. And we started making offers on the MLS. That's what they really teach you. So I reached out to one of my, it was my parents' very first employee that they hired. And she turned into a realtor, and I was like, yo, I want to flip houses. Can you just start sending me deals? And we met with her. I gave her like our credibility packet on what we wanted to do. And she just started sending us distressed properties that were listed on the MLS. This was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And we were making offers for like months and months and months. And we would, at that time, we had no construction experience. We had no idea what we were doing. So we would go and physically look at every single property. And I think one day we lined up like 10 showings, and the very last house that we went to go see was in Kamohai, and we saw it in the dark. We didn't even see what we were looking at. We're like looking with our phone flashlight. And that's the house that ended up being our very first project ever. And we went there the next day, and I was like, what the fuck did we buy? Like, what is this? But our first project, we like to say, was a master's degree in flipping, because everything that could have gone wrong went wrong, for sure.
Yeah.
Totally. So I think the best part about that is you don't have all the answers or all the information, right? But in the age of information, in the world that we live in, there's so much out there, but the actual step to say, well, we may not make money on this deal. Like, yeah, I'm sure you wanted to, maybe you did, which would have been awesome if you can explain what happened. But the fact that you dove in and went for it, it's like you're gonna figure it out along the way, and you can't have all the information, or you're gonna just never do a deal.
100%. I hear that and see that quite often. And I think it's, it's hard because there's so much information, and especially in real estate, right? Where there's so many different avenues that you could potentially go down. And a lot of people just try and wait till they know everything. And that is the biggest problem, right? And I think for us, that is something that maybe our entrepreneurial background had given us, but we're action takers. Like, we're action takers. We're taking mitigated risk, right? Like, we're not reckless in any way, but we're not ever going to wait until we know everything, because that time will never, ever come.
Well, we like naively followed the exact steps we were told to take. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't second guess it. I didn't say the what ifs. We're just like, okay, they said to do this, let's do this. You know?
Oh yeah. And they like majorly were preaching fix and flip in Fortune Builders. And so they laid that out, and we did that, you know?
Yeah.
Our first deal, we, like she said, learned a lot of lessons, right? We had issues with the city, DPP. We had, right, with permitting, which is a huge thing here in Hawaii. It's like probably our biggest nemesis.
Yeah.
We underestimated a foundation repair for $40,000. We didn't account for that in the budget. We had the wrong contractor. We went 4 months over. But the craziest thing is that I think we only lost $15,000 on that house. Mm-hmm. Which, like she said, now we can look back and we're like, you know what? We're really, really grateful that we went through all of that stuff in the very beginning, because it didn't take us out, and we kept going. We persevered through.
Yeah.
So
we were so naive, you guys. Like, we didn't even know that you had to make a monthly mortgage payment to hard money when we got our loan. Like,
I think there's a lot of people out there like that go through this, and you learn. I think you said it was a master class or a master's degree in your first flip. Like, we went through the same thing. It was kind of a burr project, but we ended up not refinancing out because it didn't. We didn't get the exact appraisal that we were looking for. But needless to say, we learned we don't like flipping every single day. Mm-hmm. We still have our W-2 jobs. Not that we're staying in them forever, but for us, like, we were like, okay, we did it. We tried it, and it was successful. It won't be our forever thing, which I like that you guys decided, hey, you went through it. You learned, like, hey, we like this. Like, we can do this all the time. We do 25 a year, whatever you said you do, a lot.
Yep.
Yeah.
My question is, with those numbers, and I'm sorry, I kind of went left, right, up, and down on that, but I think it's Hawaii, and I'm like, wow, it's not that big of a place. So how do you guys continually have deals out there? I feel like there's a finite amount of land, and I could be wrong on this, but we know, as we talked pre-show, there's a bunch of people out there. You have Indar, you have Brandon, you have Zasha. There's a lot of people out there. Yeah, I could keep going, but how do you guys navigate the MLS off market deals? Do you team up with everybody out there? Just like, how do you navigate Hawaii, I guess, is my question.
Yeah. I mean, so when we first got started just on the MLS, this was in 2018, we were just buying deals off the MLS because that's all we knew how to do. Our first 3 deals came off the MLS. We joined another mentorship, and boom, we realized that we had a sales and marketing company that did real estate. That was the byproduct. So I dove all into marketing, sales, and we started building out our direct-to-seller model. And so that has really allowed us to be able to have consistent deal flow throughout the years. From those first 3 deals, the very next year we did 17, and all of them were direct-to-seller. The crazy thing is I was getting on the phone with these people, and I was the first person they had ever talked to, asking them to buy their house. And so in those days, there just wasn't a ton of people that were marketing. Everybody was reaching out to realtors and buying stuff off the MLS. So we pivoted into that. I think it is very easy to think that there's just not a lot of opportunity on Oahu, but there's way more opportunity than there are investors.
Yeah.
There's right now 5,000 vacant houses just sitting on my island alone. We have probably the most concentration of investors here, but I know Indar does like 30 deals a year. We do 30 deals a year. There's a bunch of us that are doing a lot of deals. So like these houses are getting beat up by the ocean and the weather. And like there's just a constant rotation of houses that need to be fixed up. And up until this point, we have never run into not having enough deals. If anything, we started cutting back. Like we're like, okay, because this is the thing, you guys, our price points, we're at a 1.1 million for a median home price, right? Our
The highest in the country. It's the highest in the country by far, too. I was just looking at that.
Crazy, right? And our average renos are between $250,000 and $300,000. That's just a normal reno for us.
Our material cost is super high. Our labor cost is super high. And, you know, our cost of living is astronomical. But the fact that there's like 5,000 vacant houses and then there's such a lack of housing, we have a housing shortage here.
On the same thought, while you're out there, with realizing everything is so high, how the heck, people are wondering this driving, I know they are. How the heck did you said you do 30 of these a year. How do you have the dough in the beginning to get into something that's a $1.1 million price point, 200 grand down? Like, I know you talked about your first one was a not a master class, was a master's degree. Yeah, it was. If you're going to spend 100 grand, 200 grand, it absolutely was. It's a 4-year degree. Yeah. So could you talk to that? Like, how did you ask
how do we fund our deals?
How do you do
Yep. So, I mean, we use hard money and private money on every single house that we buy. And the thing is like, we do 30 deals now, but we didn't start out doing that. Like we had a very long, slow progression. I mean, for us, it feels long. 6 years isn't that long. No. You know what I mean? But our first deal, we literally jumped into our phones and it was a lower price point house. We bought the house for $615,000 and we ended up rehabbing it for $180,000, I think. And then we sold it for $915,000. Now we held it for way too long. So we ate up all of our profit.
And we were so naive again. We didn't even annualize our private lender's return. We just gave them a blank 10%. Like we had no idea what we were doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But we jumped in our phones and we told everybody what we were doing. And we're like, hey, we need to raise money. You want to be a part of this. This is our vision. This is where we're going. We can grow your cash. And we just started reaching out. Our first private lenders were
my brother and my best friend.
Yeah.
So, you know, and that's what people think, that they don't know anybody that has money, because money is very uncomfortable to talk about just in general. But if you're going to be in the flipping game or real estate in general, you have to be really comfortable with talking about money and being able to explain your deal and the advantages of private lending and how it's a solid asset to invest in. And we just got really good at doing that. You know, because our average raise here, if we're doing 25 to 30 deals a year, our average raise is about $300,000. And that's just for a down and holding. So, like you're in the constant business of raising capital. But once people understand that you have an opportunity for them to grow their money and to watch a house transform, that they can see what their money is doing, and then they're going to be your repeat client. I can't tell you, a lot of our lenders just roll their principal.
Can I talk to that? So we've had a lot of people talk about raising capital for syndications on the show, right? But
right.
rarely for a flip. I think that's really cool. So can you talk us through maybe like your, if you want to call it this, but like your marketing campaign of like the steps that people take all the way up to me giving you $50K or whatever it is, and then how I get my money back, and then the rollover process. I think it's cool because people probably don't realize they can become house flippers by leveraging their network. Obviously, there's a lot more to it than
100%. Yeah.
Well, and a lot of it's funny that you say that, because a lot of our private lenders are people that are interested in learning about real estate, and it's almost a better way to get into it. It's less risk. You're not the one at the job sites every day managing contractors. You're growing your money, and it's a short-term investment that you can see what your money does in 6 to 8 months, So the process is, it starts with marketing. It starts with just having conversations. Well, it actually starts with getting the deal.
Yeah, it starts with getting the deal. But I get the deal under contract and then hand it over to her. And we have a machine, and this is constantly running to raise money. I mean, we're raising $1 million every 2 months. So
yeah. So, I mean, it's really about an email marketing. It's about being loud about what you're doing in a very tactful way and presenting it as an opportunity to people, because it's exactly what it is. You're not begging anybody for money. You're presenting an opportunity for them to grow their wealth. And we created a private lender information packet, which literally breaks everything down in detail. And then we update it with our past projects so people can see actual examples of an investment that was done, the time frame, how the money grows, how it's annualized, and then what an expected return is going to be. And then you secure them with a promissory note and a mortgage deed. And we send them monthly updates so they know exactly what's going on every single month throughout the duration of the project. We've had private lenders come to the project when it's done, and we're like, yo, look what your money did. Like, look at this. You were a part of this. What's your question? Because our lenders aren't just lenders. They become family. They become a part of our team. They're essential to our business. And so that we want them to feel that way as well. We want them to feel involved. So if there's any other resources that we can give them, that's exactly what we want to do. And then at the end, we let them know, like, yo, the project's done. We're about to go on escrow. We send them the listing. And then they just get updates every single time. And then they get an email showing the breakdown of what their money did. And we give them the option. Do you want to reinvest because I got all these projects we can roll your principal into, or do you want to cash out? And majority of the time, it's I want to reinvest because look at how much money I made. I can't make that anywhere else in that amount of time.
We love it. You have a full start, not to cut you off. You have a full system that handoff process, bang, 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 emails, here you go. I think it's awesome to show people their roadmap of their dollar, right? Or like how they grow. A lot of people just say, here's the deal, here's what we're going to spit out at the end. But to walk them through, give updates, it is similar in my mind to a syndication. But I really like you create a family with this. You're not just using someone for their capital. And for us, it's like, I would do the same thing. If you just gave me a profit, I forgot about the other money. I didn't really forget about it, but it was a chunk that I set aside specifically for investing. I know I can win. I know I can potentially lose. If I win, great. It's here we go again. I rather trust you than just throwing a dart in the stock market and hope it works.
Exactly. Well, the key to really gaining private lenders, if that's what you want to call it, is educating people about money and how they can grow it, and how if you have it in this asset, this is what your projected return is. If you have it sitting in a savings account, what you're growing 0.01% on your money, you know what I mean? It's all about helping them understand how they can create wealth and how it's actually not as risky as people think.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think a lot of it is sharing your story, your unique story, which is more unique than, well, I would say more unique, but it's your own thing. And I want to go back to something that you said about just you didn't know anything in the beginning, but you still started documenting it. So you don't know anything, but you're documenting it. As long as you're not saying I know everything, right, and falsifying it, then people start to latch on to you, and like that that humbleness and that like, oh, we don't know what we're doing, but here's how it's working. All of a sudden it grows. All of a sudden 2 deals turn into 4, 4 turn into 6. And the people that started with you in the beginning are like, look what they did. There's a story to tell there. Then they can go tell their friends. And you're not pretending. This is where people screw up on social media. At the very beginning, they try to act like experts. Not fake it till you make it. We've said that term before. That's not the way that you guys did it. It's not fake it till you make it. It's showing what we've done, sharing the wins, sharing the losses, and then you gain reputability, if that's a word, or you become more reputable that way. That's what I love about your story.
You literally become the authority in that space. You know what I mean? And obviously that takes a lot of time. It does. But in the end, that is really what people want to trust you, right? And if they trust you, that's the thing. You are never too early to start sharing that story.
Never.
Like I see a lot of people getting held back because of like an imposter syndrome or,
they don't want
I can't do that because I'm not that person. I'm not doing that much yet. You know what I mean? But everybody has an authentic story to tell. If you're actually doing the do, like share what you're doing, because all of these little shares are going to add up and it will bring you business. It's going to bring people in.
And you guys know social media is your business card. You know what I mean? And we've never gone, I guess, with like the trends of what people are doing on social media. I think that's why we've had very slow and organic growth. But our followers are ride or die followers. You know what I mean? That like we don't need 100,000 followers for our name to get out there and to get private capital and to get opportunities, because we show up on social media just how we are. You like what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
Organic all the way.
Absolutely. And Ryan and I joined a mastermind, and shout out to Emerge, which is the mastermind that goes into Go Abundance, right? Like the prequel, if you will.
Yep.
We've met so many people, and the biggest value that I thought that we've brought to the mastermind is I met this guy. I'm not going to say his name because he probably, he didn't give me permission, but there's a people that are crushing it in their business, and they're asking, hey, what do you think the next step is for me? And he's like a military guy, and I'm like, do you have any social media? Are you telling anybody about this? He's like, no, I kind of have stayed off social media. I'm like, you're going to 10x your business because you're already killing it. Like you're already doing the do. You're already doing it. I'm like, if you just tell your story and you go on there and you just don't pretend to be anybody that you're not, the amount of people that we have met, we're in the middle of raising capital right now, the amount of people that we have met for our deals to partner with, to go into business with through social media, it's been a whirlwind. Like,
I mean, we met you guys through social media.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly right.
100%.
I think it's someone called it a digital resume or something like that. And for when you go into a room, and this is so interesting. I actually was meeting with a gentleman today to help us revamp our website a little bit, to like have it more geared towards syndications and our next evolution, if you will, right?
Yep.
We started going through the process, and I wasn't sure he was taking me serious, right? He was giving me all the information. Then I was like, here's my social links and things like this, so I can like, I needed to show him like our branding and how I want to do the tell story. And he looked at the Instagram and he goes, oh, shit, you guys already did the hard part. Like I can handle the back for you. He's like, you already built the community. I showed him the podcast. And it immediately the conversation took a turn where it's like, no, I want to work with these guys and I definitely can help them 10x their business because they showed up every day for 4 years. You know what I mean? And it's kind of to your guys' point, like it doesn't matter like the fraud followers or you can have 5,000 followers that show up every day for you. And you have that community, and it's way better than a $250,000 account, or sorry, 250,000 follower account. That is just, it's not organic. It's fake. People just have the check mark, right? There's
and they just have no engagement. There's nothing real happening there. You know what I mean?
It's so hard to navigate the space on social too, because it evolves all the time, and the algorithms change, and you're like, okay, well, there's YouTube, there's TikTok, there's Instagram, there's my website. Like, how do I funnel people? People want to talk to us. And it's like, how do you siphon off your calls? And then you have the podcast. So I know everything you guys are going through, and it's funny. We've met a few different people, and we're trying to, maybe this is like us strategizing out loud with you, but I'm trying to find a way to build almost like a mini mastermind to bring your people in and at least just educate together and have these conversations more frequently, maybe once a week, not just once a week to throw out for education for everybody, but actually just like, what are you guys thinking about? What are you struggling? What do you need?
Fill your cup. You got to have constantly be filling your cup so you can continue to pour out.
I absolutely love that, bro. Like we're constantly looking for, I mean, we're talking about, we started with the education. We're in education nonstop, but like sometimes just to have like these conversations where we're dealing with the same kinds of I don't want to say problems, but issues in our business, and we're trying to overcome them. We need another perspective on that, another set of eyes, another set of experiences. And if we could just meet people all on that level and just brainstorm, dude, that's invaluable, bro.
100%.
Totally agree.
Perfect.
And it's just interesting. It's people pay for these types of masterminds, and some are worth it, right? You go into some of them and you're like, whoa, like I got that one meeting, I got 10 times what I paid in for it. And other times you're like, I feel like I could have led that. And like, I don't know, it's kind of weird. Like we have a mastermind every Wednesday. Like we talk to you guys, like this going out to people is a mastermind. We already talked about trials, tribulations, where you're going, like how to get there,
100%.
who to talk to. So it's just a weird thing. And to put it, I think that's why there's an art to marketing, right? We've talked about this, like your guys' background. Hopefully people are watching on YouTube. Like your logo is sick. You guys are put together. You have the whole look, but you also are like kind, genuine people. But you also have that little swag to you where I'm like, I want to know more. Like, tell me more. So you're the masters of marketing, I think, sell more so than, to Corey's point, of the guy on social media. He's not on social media and no one knows his story. How is he getting people to invest in him where he doesn't tell anyone about himself? So I know that was kind of a big boatload of information, but I think marketing is one of the key things for our industry in real estate. And you're seeing people will shoot you a DM and be like, hey, I have 50 to 100K. When's your next deal? I love you guys. I've been listening to Deals in Aloha for 3 years or whatever it is, right? So I think it's cool for us as the content creators. This is also thinking out loud again, but like somehow for us to get in the same room and like this, but offline, just like, hey guys, what are you struggling with? How can we, what's worked for you? And then, we can uplift everybody else that is doing
do it, bro. Just shoot me a Zoom link.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I'm 100% down.
I just had to put it out there, I guess, right?
Yeah. You know what I mean? I can get Zasha on it, like I'm sure she could teach us some stuff.
Yeah, we should do that.
We certainly will. So that's a great idea. But I want to transition. You said something. Both of you said something previously in the episode. You said, you do these flips to fund your passive, right? So I noticed that you said something, and it's not that investing in your backyard, I wouldn't necessarily say it's easier, but there's probably this preconceived notion that it is. Like if you're in Hawaii, you're going to do better in Hawaii than me, right? Like I'm in Philadelphia. We're so far away. But you said you invest long-term in Florida, which could not get further away if you're talking about the United States.
No,
right?
totally.
So how did you create a network of people in Florida that you do the flips in Hawaii and then you fund your passive, like you said, in Florida? What's the strategy there?
Dude, it's exactly what you just talked about. It's about being in the right rooms, masterminding with high-level people and connecting and being in the right mentorship. So we were in a mentorship. We went to a mastermind, and I met one of my best friends in real estate, and she lives in Jacksonville, Florida. And so we just hit it off. And
she's crushing up there. And she has a huge network there. But her issue was she didn't have money, and she doesn't know how. She didn't have the know-it-all to raise money.
To do larger deals. And
do larger deals and more of them, right? And that's our skill set. We do that very, very well. And so we started talking story. She's like, I have all of these deals coming in. They're all creative finance deals from her network there. But I need these entry fees. Let's form a partnership and let's buy all these deals.
And that's
exactly
what we did. We incorporated together. We shared resources. Our first deal together was a fourplex in Jacksonville. It's now an Airbnb and it crushes, so it's really cool. And so we're building, Florida is just a great cash flow market. You can do a lot of creative deals there. We're under contract right now for 20 plus units in Tallahassee. Hopefully that works out. So we're just slowly but surely building our portfolio there with her.
Does she manage the properties, or she has a property manager that does it? Like, how does that process work? Contractors? Is that all her operational aspect, and you're the networking, funding, marketing arm?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So yes, we're the funding, we're the back end, I guess you can say. She's boots on the ground. She has a contractor, so she helped renovate everything. And then we hired a property manager to come in and manage it for us.
Got it. So if anybody's listening, it's there's a lot of complaining going on out there about interest rates, about a recession, about let me just say, it's never been easier to do what we're talking about. I'm not saying it's easy. It's not easy. It's never been easier though. Like you're doing deals in
100%.
Jacksonville. I don't know how many times you've even been to Jacksonville. Maybe
Never.
Zero times.
We haven't been to Florida.
We will one day.
That's my whole point. I didn't even know the answer to that question, so I'm glad it was zero. But like I just bought a property in Tampa, Florida. I've been there 3 times, and this isn't. I don't want to make this about me. I'm just giving you an example of like how it's navigatable this interweb that's allowing you to partner with people in different states, in different countries. So I love it. I think that's great. I think the strategy of flipping, keeping that active income and turning it into passive, we're using that in our W-2 jobs, taking that income, buying real estate, and then turning that real estate into bigger real estate and moving that into more passive. But people think that it's like, oh, I buy 10 rentals and I sit on a beach. And that's not, it's really hard to do that now. Maybe 20 years ago, you could have done that. But right now, you got to keep that active income coming in.
I think to your point where you said it's never become easier. It's like it's simple, not easy or something like that. But to your point, I think my brain's wrapping around this is like the squeaky wheel gets the oil or something like that is the phrase where like, we've seen people that just, if you're willing to raise your hand and just tell us a little bit about yourself and provide value, you were the one that is going to get the deals. I'll bring it back to a couple we had on the show years ago, who we're pretty close with, the Phi couple, Josh and Ali Lupo. They had 200 followers. Josh would crush. He'd show up on every single page on just like, hey, love what you're doing, super inspiring. And then with DM, they are at like 300,000 followers organic real estate portfolio. And like my point here is, if you're in a room, and I just think about this, a lot of people are like, well, I'm introverted, like it's not my thing. If you're the first person in a room to raise your hand, you're breaking the ice. And it's usually like, think about when you have a project, right? And you're like, okay, who's going to be the first to present? 9 times out of 10, if you're the first person to go, you get it a little bit more lenient because you had the nuts to go and put yourself out there. And then everybody has to follow suit on you. And like, oh God, like rarely does it tone. You set the tone, right? But I think those go-getters to actually attack the world and like become something. So what I'm saying is, if you feel that imposter syndrome, you need to get rid of it right away, because today you can scale so much quicker by latching on to people that have become successful just by showing that you're gritty and that you're curious and you want to know what they're doing and you want to help. Because I think it goes to, we all probably have prime examples of this. Like we all started from zero. We had no idea what we were doing. We were just like willing to take a shot and then willing to put it out there. And then fast forward, however long it takes, 5, 10, 20 years, you're going to succeed as long as you just don't stop. And so
that's it in a nutshell. You're going to succeed as long as you don't quit. You're only limited by your knowledge and your application of that knowledge. That's it.
Yeah.
So that was a mindset one there for you.
Love it. Love it.
That was great. So what are your goals then? You've talked just about your properties in Florida. You've talked about the flipping in Hawaii. Like, what does the next 1 to 3 years look like for you? What are you out there looking to accomplish now?
Yeah, I think when we got started, we were very money hungry. We had no money. We were 80 grand in debt, and so we needed to get money. We have, over the years, gotten to a place where we realize that that's not what's important to us, right? What's important to us, and Tris alluded to this in the beginning, is being able to spend time with the people that we love, being able to be there for our children when they still think we're gods. Like right now, my kids want to be with me every single day. They love me. There's gonna be a time
where they don't
where
want that.
My kids no longer want to hang out with that.
Not
right?
cool anymore.
And you know what the messed up part about that is that normally those years are the years when parents are grinding and they're not there and they're building their businesses or they're in their W-2. I don't want that, right? And so we came to a conclusion. We sat down, we're like, you know what? We need to really truly build our business around our lifestyle. And so we were on a trajectory to start doing like 40, 50 flips a year. But
nope.
Right. We sat down and we're like, okay, listen, let's scale everything back. Let's figure out what amount of flips is going to be good for us to help us accomplish our goals and to keep growing the business. And we figured out what that was. And so I think moving forward, we're going to stay right in that zone.
Yeah.
Between 20 to 30, we have the teams to support that. We know what that's going to allow us time-wise for the things we want to do, vacation, travel, all of those things. And then we're pumping money into a lot of our rentals that we were talking about earlier are also short-term. Most of them are short-term rentals. So we're in the short-term rental space. And we're building a portfolio here in Hawaii as well. Not on Oahu, but it's on the big island of Hawaii. In Hilo, and I think we have like 10 doors there right now, and most of them are short term. But anyway, we're gonna continue to build our portfolio there and in Florida, and we're looking at bigger multifamily stuff now. So that's another reason we need to get in the room with you guys.
But it's interesting though, I feel like a lot of people are going into the syndication space, and I love it. I see the value of getting to super monster deals, but I think he and I are really interested in getting into 50 doors or less and doing it with like a couple partners and not syndicating.
Right. So one of the things that you said there that I thought was really interesting, and I wonder if you have any tips for people to figure out how to get to this point. So there's a point where you've realized and you've created it and you've figured out, I don't need more than X. Now with inflation, who the hell knows what's going to happen, right? But the point is I'm going to be the happiest at this stage. There are a lot of people that get lost in the sauce and just keep grinding and keep moving, and then they wake up one day and they're like, what do I even need all this shit for? Like, how did I get here? How did you figure out what that number was, or that area, or that time spent on work versus play?
Through burnout, through learning. Straight up. Last year I was miserable. I was burned out. I almost was in like crisis. I told him like, I want to quit. I don't give a shit. I'll go back to my W2. Like, I am not happy. And I think you really need to do the work, because us as entrepreneurs, we have this hustle. We have this inner grind to succeed. And we think that succeeding is going to take all your problems away. But the reality of the situation is it doesn't. It does not solve all your problems, because money doesn't buy happiness. Money is just a tool. And what you do with that is your kuleana. It's your responsibility. But I had to figure out the 7 layers of why. And I had to go back to the basics, back to the stuff that did bring me joy, did bring me happiness. You have to have a strong mindset, but you can't let your strong mindset bulldoze your emotional connection to who you are as a human. So you have to make sure you're emotionally regulated as well. And so we had to figure all of that out, and 7 layers of why. We started off where we got into real estate because we wanted money, and it's like, well, let's ask ourselves, well, why do we want money? Okay, so I want money because I want time freedom. Why do you want time freedom? Because I want to control. Why do I want control? You really got to be able to do the work, the hard work, because as entrepreneurs, as you go up the ladder of success, the problems just get bigger. They don't go away. So it was really about not doing the dirty yes, not saying yeses to things that you really didn't want to do, having happy and peaceful no's to situations. So we've turned down a lot of opportunities because it didn't feel right. It didn't fit the morals. It didn't fit the value. It took away time from our family when we said, no, our kids need us right now. And would that opportunity have opened another door? Probably, but it still would have been a dirty yes. I don't want to give out dirty yeses. So, that was like a long answer, and I don't know if I gave you what you wanted.
You did. No, I have so many thoughts on this. And hopefully mine's not, I think mine will actually be left, right field, center field, everywhere, kind of all my thoughts today. But I really appreciate a lot of things you said. One is, as you grow in this game, I think we had Mike Ayala on a couple weeks ago, and he's a big mindset guy, a real estate investor, but he talked about, dude, as you scale and you grow, you're going into war every single day. Like, there's always someone out there that is quietly lurking in the background that just does not want you to succeed, and they'll attack you at some point, right? So you have to build the army around you of like us all together, right? We're doing the same stuff. Like, now we're in the pack. Like, if you guys need something, I know we have your back, and it's vice versa. But also to build your team locally too, whether it's like all your team members. What you could talk about your contractors, but also like your legal team, and there's a lot of different things that you need to protect yourself with on the way. And it is so much easier, to your point. Like, we've had days and I've been like, F this, dude. I just want to stick to my W-2. I don't have to think about any bullshit. I go in, I clock in, get paid, I have to do some stupid stuff, whatever. But then I realized the main thing, I kind of went through the seven layers of why, as you will. There's something truly about, and I don't really know how to voice it, but to wake up every day and realize you have this thing you've grown and created, and almost like the business is your baby in a way.
Yeah, totally.
There's such a purpose behind it. Like, just seeing the logo and knowing you're in it with partners, and it's not just like he and I as partners. Now we have everyone across the world, including you guys, right? Like, you guys are rooting for us. We're rooting for you. It's like, I'm not going to let them down. Like, you can't just start something and stop it. We talked about this earlier. Like, as long as you don't stop, you'll succeed. For us, it's just like, well, there's other people I got to show up for. It's not just me anymore. And then probably the realest thing, and this is just another layer back to the episode, the realest thing I've heard on maybe any episode was you talking about the time with your family and how the most impactful years of your kids actually like you are able to spend the time with them. I'm a new father, I should say.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It is the best thing in the world. I haven't talked about it on the show yet, so your first announcement here. But
right on.
So I can relate to some people. It is the coolest thing in the friggin' world, and you guys can attest. I'm at the stage where they're just like, she's just starting to smile. Like, I'm so early in the game, right?
Yeah.
As I get through this, Corey, the last like 6 months, Corey's been like, dude, like, you just have this like go mentality. Like, I feel like I just blink and shit's done. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what it is. Like, I kind of had a feeling I'd be like that when I was a kid, but it's more so, I don't have time to like, you have to trim the fat, right? Like, I have no time for any of the bullshit anymore. You have to say no to a lot of things, defend your time blocks, because you want to spend time with them when you get home, but also to separate that time for, I don't want to have to have this W-2 forever, right? Like, I want to be able to grow this other baby that I have with you, and we just go all in on it. And there's, it's just hard to explain, but having someone that like looks up to you every day and you're like, oh my God, I got to like feed this thing and make sure it survives. And there's a whole different game now. And, and it's helped me in business a lot. And it's really weird. It's like, I have no like blinders and like shiny object syndrome. Like, I don't really have it anymore. And it's only been the last 6 months pre-baby as it like led up to the last moments of like having it. You're like, whoa, like it's, I don't know if you guys have found this too, but that really resonated with me when you talked about wanting to spend the time. Like, I just think about my dad, right? He was working all the time. It's in the years that I wanted him to hang out. Like, I just wanted him to come home, have dinner, play catch, whatever. Like, he coached us and things like that. But we loved those moments. It was like the hour or two you could spend. Imagine you had 4 or 5 hours or as much time as you wanted, that time freedom. That's what I'm chasing, right? And so if you can find that why and really understand what it is, you forget about the other stuff. You just go laser focused.
Exactly.
And if you guys wanted a brick wall to run through, we have one behind us.
I see that. I see that.
Yeah.
No, but I don't have children yet, right? It's in my future, but I've seen the passion, the drive, and what that does to an individual who I already knew had the highest of morals and values. But like, I can see how that you're right. Like, the time that you get with your children now will make them likely want to spend their 20s with you, because I spend my 20s, I spent them and my 30s now with my parents, because I'm not gonna have them forever. So so I think that it's invaluable. So I love that you said that.
Yeah.
Totally.
Cool. Yeah. So I don't know how. Well, we lost a lot of the juice after that. That was pretty exciting.
Yeah. You're always off about things like it's yeah. So I think going down the show though, like we've quietly been talking for an hour, but I think that or not quietly, but we've been
I feel like we're just getting started.
I know.
There's a lot that
we could go forever with you guys.
Yeah.
There's just some people that you vibe with, right? Like, you can tell you're on the same energy. You're going through the same things in business as well. Like, these conversations give me life, like energy, and inspire. You know what I mean? So
that's 100% why we do it. And I found that, sometimes like for us, it's late in the day, right? It's 6 p.m. We've done these 6, 7, 8, 9 p.m. And I felt that I'm more energized after I get out of it. And I was saying to Rye the other day, like, we had this conversation, we're doing all this work, we're grinding. It's like, what are we doing it all for? What do you really want your life to look like? And he looked at me and he said, I want to do exactly what we're doing. Like, because we're doing and now maybe we want to have more money tied to it. Maybe we want to do bigger deals. Maybe we want to make a bigger impact, but it's all in the work that we're already doing. And it's like, I can't even picture my life like, oh, I want to be doing X in 5 years. It's like, I want to be coaching, whether that's I coach basketball, but I want to be coaching people. I want to be making an impact on people. I want to have passive income. I want to be talking to cool people like yourself, like to create that world where you're already doing what you want to do. It's the vision. It makes the vision so much easier to continue to pursue.
Pinch yourself sometime. You're like, holy shit, this is work.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. The challenge is that, like, this directly, you have to find what actually brings you dollars and brings you income. This directly, we don't really get paid a lot from the podcast, but we get paid through relationship capital, and we get paid through the people that we've met. That's
100%.
No, 100%. That's why we do our podcast too, because we get to meet such rad people and build connections that ultimately are going to be with us in 20 years. You know what I mean?
Totally. Let me ask you guys this. This is an interesting one. And I think I'm definitely going to set up a call. I think whether it's us and Zasha, whoever, even just us again, because I want to talk about the business and like how we structure things. And there's a lot of synergy here. Selfishly, I could talk to you guys for like 6 hours. That's really why I'm doing it. But we talked a lot about relationship capital. But for me, I'm talking about the relationships you build, right? You have a conversation with someone on a DM or you have someone on the show. And maybe we're kind of strategizing out loud here, but how do you guys continue those relationships, like the touch points? Like for me, I work in sales, right? So to work someone up the ladder, right, and eventually close them is you have specific touch points. And then once you close them, it's like you still build a relationship so you retain them over time, right? It's like sales 101. For me, we've met so many cool people on the show, right? And you're like, whoa, I vibe with them so well. But then you might not talk to them for another 6 months. I'm like, dude, that's so weird. Life could change in 2 days, let alone 6 months. So I don't know if you guys have any tips or if you do this, but this is where I'm like framing my mind for us as we move forward, not only with our followers, but also for our friends that we've had on the show and other investors. How are you guys managing those relationships and keeping in touch?
That's a super good
Dude, yeah, this is definitely strategizing out loud, because I don't think we have like any specific strategies, that we actually have like implement like a system or anything. But I do think that we're lucky that we live in Hawaii because
I know where this is going.
Everybody wants to come to Hawaii and does come to Hawaii. Yeah. And all of the people that we talk to that we have like this kind of a relationship with, we're just like you. Like now we're family. We got your back no matter what. You need anything in Hawaii, anything at all, you hit us up. You come travel here, you can stay in one of our houses. Like, this is the kind of relationship that we believe in, just because we understand the power of relationships
and collaboration,
and collaboration and all the things. So we get a ton of people that take us up on that, and when they come to Hawaii, we're the people that they want to hang out with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think just on a more granular level, it is being conscious about that question that you just asked.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times we just are so busy and like we're on to the next thing, and like we could have this rad conversation right now, but then if we're not conscious about after this setting something in our calendar and saying, hey, I'm going to call on this day, then it might get lost, and it's not that we didn't have a great conversation. We don't vibe like 100%, but it's like, we're entrepreneurs. We're going after this. We're going to film. And like we have to literally just be conscious about putting that in. You know what I mean? I don't know that.
What I found that helped me is right when I'm thinking about that person or that situation, I'll just send them a text. And it doesn't have to be anything if for a reason. It's just like, what's up? I was thinking about you. Hope all is well. Nothing. Peace out. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be for a reason, but that is what waters that relationship. That's what waters that seed. Is anytime I'm thinking like one of my best friends on Maui, not Sasha, but Tereba. Anytime I think about her, I'll just shoot her a text. Hey, girl.
Yep.
How you doing?
She's awesome too.
Oh yeah, love her.
I will say she's great. I would say I don't want to like generalize you guys all, but every single person we've met in Hawaii is just the bomb. Like, you guys are so cool and easy to talk to. And just like the family thing, first of all, thank you for that. Like, I would love to take you guys up on that one day.
And if you ever want to come to Philly with December or when it's 42,
I do want to come to Philly. Like, we love to travel.
We love traveling.
To the East Coast.
We love traveling.
Shack them up in the Poconos. That'll be
we have a couple spots.
Yeah, we could definitely do something on that. I think what I wanted to say is, and this is not like to bring sexes into it, but I bring it up because my wife, she is so good at checking in on her friends and just like making calls, doing things. And she's like, when's the last time you hung out with so-and-so? I'm like, I don't know. I got to go work with Corey. We got to figure it out. And she's just like, she has this innate ability to connect and stay in touch. And I don't know if it's just me as a guy or like just in general with like my brain, I don't think to have that nurturing, like, oh, let me check in on this dude and make sure he's good. Like, I just assume he's all right. So I guess I'm putting it out there as there's certain things where I live by my calendar. And I know it's weird, but like truly putting it in, you like a CRM system where just like, hey, check in every 30 days. Just make sure they're good. Like,
so put it in your calendar.
I have one thing that I think might help people that are listening that is granular. I've done this. And first of all, reminders on your phone are unbelievable. I have like 60 a day on my phone. But even better, which is too much. But even better is anytime that, somebody has a birthday, if you text somebody happy birthday, it pops down in the iPhone to save it as that day. Now, I save people's birthdays that would never expect to hear from me. And then like getting a text from somebody that's like, a couple of degrees of separation, you're like, well, how did you remember that? Right? Like,
totally.
Unique, that puts yourself, stands out a little bit. And I have
something.
It means something. And then, but also from there, when you say happy birthday, there's got another 2 to 3 texts that you have dug into their life a little bit, ask a couple extra questions. I think something like that is something simple that really works, because I texted somebody that I hadn't talked to in 8 months. I think the last text was my happy birthday text to them from last year. But it's still, it's like you become you really, all you have is how you make people feel. And that's the relationship building that I think is worth it.
One last thing I think on the flip side of this is, in this business, especially you guys as like big podcasters, and you guys meet and connect with so many people and everyone is cool, right? But I think as you as a new dad and as us being like in the busiest we've ever been, you almost have to create a filter. And we asked our mentor this, was like, how do you create a filter that to know what relationships to water versus the ones that aren't necessary, they're not for you, even though you vibed with them. And he said you have to create a filter. You have to have commonalities. And for him, he's like, are they married? Or are they in a relationship? Do they have children? And are they working on their business? If they don't check all 3 of those boxes, why are you watering that relationship? And I think as you go up the ladder, your relationships have to be that much more strategic and that much more valuable. And it has to be reciprocal too, you can't be giving and them just taking. So, I mean, I think that's one thing we had to do as well, is create a filter, because everyone is going to want your time, because you have developed a skill set and you are very valuable. And so everyone's going to want a piece of that, but that doesn't mean everybody deserves a piece of that.
Totally. It's great.
Yeah. I like that.
I could, we were saying this already. We'd talk to you guys for hours, and I think we will, but maybe off air. So I kind of want to wind it down here. And we normally ask a bunch of questions at the end. With 4 people, it gets, we'll talk for another 2 hours, seriously. So what I want to do,
I don't think I'm allowed to talk anymore.
No, it's a good thing, but for podcast people listening, I think they got like an hour 15. That's typically their cutoff.
Yeah.
The one question I do want to ask, you talked a little bit about your legacy and your why. We already went there. I kind of want to ask, let's say you could go back to your 18-year-old selves. You can both answer this question. What is the one piece of advice you would give yourself, and why?
We didn't get into like the whole, we didn't get into that. We could do another podcast about the previous life.
That's another story.
But yeah, we had a little bit of a rough growing up. And so I think my advice to myself back then would be, it is okay to ask for help. And I think that it goes really deep into like growing up in childhood and also Hawaiian culture. is very like guilt, shame, humble.
You keep your problems
problems to yourself. Figure it out on your own. We are a strong people. We are not weak. No, a weak person needs things, kind of a thing. And I think that one thing kept me stuck in a place that I didn't want to be for a very long time. And now I have to condition myself even now in business now. It is okay to ask for help. You are not weak if you ask for help. Asking for help is a show of like resilience and power. It's just something mantra I have to tell myself.
Yeah.
I love it. I have some friends who are, I mean, I don't know, like I'm not going to name all of their cultures, but there's specifically that has shown up in a number of cultures of people that I've met. Some people that are Filipino, Japanese, just as an example. And I know there's a lot of Asian cultures, and I think it's like that, not asking for help, but also like you're already strong enough, and in the emotion, don't bring the emotion into it. And I've noticed that, and I think it's interesting because I feel like I'm the type of person that it's like, if I voice it, even just getting it out of my body, just saying it has helped me. Just it is already a relief. Just saying it out loud is a relief. That's just how I am. And it's like, so it's commendable that you share that, because I'm maybe reading between the lines of what it was like earlier in your life. So I'm interested.
Cool. What about you, Jess?
18. So at 18, I was pretty strong-willed. I've always been super strong-willed, and whatever I want to do, I'm going to do it. I would tell myself, learn how to radically self-love, because even if you think that's what you're doing, go and do it at a deeper level to connect with self and understand who you are. And an 18-year-old, that's probably like you're in a crazy phase of life, but do that work. I feel like, and connect to that inner child, because I went through a lot of stuff in my childhood that made me have to grow up very quick. So I never was able to be and connect to that inner child. So I wish at 18 I had somebody telling me, it's okay, be a kid. You don't have to be an adult already. You don't have to be doing all those things already. Take a step back, learn to love yourself, and connect to that inner child, because a lot of healing would take place at a younger age, and it wouldn't have popped up later on in life. When, let's be real, like, I'm building a life over here, running a business, I have kids, I don't need that to pop up. Do you know what I mean? So
sure. Totally. Life's not that serious. I think, like there's always gonna be problems. And I just put that out there. There's a lot of things I was thinking about as you guys were going through this, and we never really flipped the question on ourselves, but I'm going to do it right now. And I'll give a couple words of wisdom on how I'd feel, right? Like, so if I go back to 18-year-old self, and I remember maybe 17, 18, I always used to think people were like, everything I did was getting watched. And I was like super self-conscious about certain things, and like all eyes are on me. So like, for example, when you go like stand up for a presentation, you're walking the hallways in school, like, dude, nobody cares. Literally everyone's thinking about themselves. And you're all in this thing. Like, so don't worry about it. Like when you get up there, just say what you got to say and move on, because someone else is going to butcher it worse than you did a couple minutes later. So that would be one thing I would say. I wish I could just tell myself, like, bro, it really is not that serious. You are cool in your own way. Like, do your thing and just rock out. Like, I pretty much did, but I always just second guessed it. And another one would be, and this is kind of my mantra for this year, and I think it kind of alludes to some things I were talking about earlier in the show. Like the last 6 months, I've just been kind of going nuts, and in a good way. Changed my mantra to ready, fire, aim. Someone told me this, and I think it might have been the mastermind we're in, but I just love it for whatever reason. Like I always used to analyze and study, and Corey and I did this together. We were sitting down, we would read, and we would do this. But like, yeah, one day we'll be real estate investors. Like one day we'll have the nice cars, we'll have the nice house, right? And we'll do whatever we want to do with the money, right? And then one day he was just like, dude, you want to start a podcast? This is during COVID. He's like, you want to start a podcast, talk about real estate, financial independence, all that. And I'm like, dude, we don't have any real estate. We kind of know what we're talking about, financial independence, but sure, let's do it. Yeah. So we did it. And that was the first thing that proved we could do whatever we wanted to do. And it scaled up to where it has now. We're in deals with people that we're reading their books, right? It's just like the coolest thing ever to have like full circle moments. you're one of your well, not he's not really local, but Brandon, right? Like have him on the show.
100%.
We're like, are you kidding me? Coach
yeah.
Carson. It blew our minds and certain things. So for me, I'd just say ready, fire, aim. Don't worry about imposter syndrome. There's always people that are faking it till they make it. Dude, you have value in your story. It's unique. Tell it. Someone's gonna latch to it and thank you for it. And maybe that's taking a couple DMs of people saying like, thanks for what you guys do. I'm sure you guys get these all the time. And it's like, wait, you're listening to me? This is the weirdest thing ever. So it's cool. I know we've all been through similar things, but that would be my advice to myself back at 18. There's amongst a bunch. I don't know if I'd listen, but that's what I'd say.
Yeah, right.
Same.
I wish.
Love it.
For real estate now.
Oh my God.
That's what most people say, but we like more the philosophical answer.
Reed Reset Board Avenue too.
Yeah. Step to get best in real estate when you're 6.5. But thank you guys so much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure to get to know you. I know we've been I think for several years we've been following each other. And it's awesome to get to know the people behind the screen. If people want to learn more about you, they want to potentially invest in deals with you, they want to follow you, they want to network, what's the best way for people to get in touch?
At Kamohai and Tristyn on all social media platforms.
Yeah, DM on Instagram is probably the easiest. We check that constantly. We're still in control of that. So if you want to talk to us, DM, but then at Kamohai